I once had the opportunity to visit PT Commune, DH District, TN Province to see for myself the mysterious cave that local villagers have revered for generations. Located in HT Hamlet, the cave is known by several names, including BT Ghost Cave, Coffin Cave, and Money Cave, though the locals most commonly call it BT Ghost Cave. Its mysterious reputation has frightened countless people. Even many local residents rarely dare to venture near its domain. Perched about 600 meters above the valley floor, the path to BT Ghost Cave is extremely treacherous, with steep rocky cliffs, a sheer mountainside on one side, and a deep abyss on the other. On nights of the full moon, eerie cries are said to echo throughout the mountains and forests, seemingly coming from this very cave. Yet one veteran hunter dared to enter it. What happened during his visits to the cave ultimately led him to abandon hunting forever. Wanting to learn the full story, I sought out the hunter himself. His name was Haven, a resident of HT Hamlet, once renowned throughout the region as a marksman who never missed his target. Sitting beside a pot of tea one afternoon, Mr. N slowly recalled every detail of that fateful hunting trip. Even after many years, the memory remained vivid. It was around noon near the end of 1997. As on every hunting trip, after lunch I slung my gear over my shoulder, took along my best hunting dogs, and headed into the BT Mountains with 3 companions. His equipment included razor-sharp animal traps and the hunting rifle that had accompanied him for more than a decade. After setting their traps, the hunters sat smoking and waited patiently for results. After quite some time with no sign of game, they decided to actively search the forest, moving in a pincer formation to flush out animals. Eventually, the 4 hunters spotted an unusually large silver-headed monkey standing on a rocky ledge. None of them had ever seen such a strange monkey before. Thinking it would be an extraordinary prize, they carefully and quietly closed in, trying not to let it escape. When they were about 30 meters away, several gunshots rang out. The silver-headed monkey was hit and fled in panic. Determined not to lose such valuable prey, the experienced hunters immediately gave chase. Following the trail of blood, Mr. N arrived at the entrance of BT Ghost Cave, a place the local people hardly ever dared approach. The monkey, wounded in one leg, sat upon a large rock just outside the cave entrance, only about 10 meters away from the hunters. All 4 men raised their rifles and aimed directly at the injured animal. Recalling that unforgettable moment, Mr. N said, "Strangely enough, not a single shot hit it, even though the monkey remained sitting there instead of running away. Tears welled up in its eyes as it stared directly at us. Then, all of a sudden, it pulled out a handful of wild fruit from somewhere and stretched it toward us, as if offering it in exchange for its life." Mr. N admitted that throughout all his years as a hunter, he had never witnessed anything so deeply moving. Yet hunting was his livelihood. Although his back was soaked with sweat, he was still determined to kill the valuable animal. Then something happened that he could never have imagined. Just as he raised his rifle once more, 2 additional monkeys suddenly appeared, one large and one small. They stared at the hunters before clasping their hands together in a gesture that looked remarkably like praying. They repeatedly bowed while letting out broken cries that sounded like desperate pleas for mercy. At that astonishing sight, Mr. N and his companions instinctively lowered their rifles. No one fired another shot. They simply stood frozen in silence, watching as the 3 monkeys supported one another and slowly disappeared into the mysterious cave. Seeing the wounded monkey pleading for its life and then watching its family gently help it back into the cave awakened something deep within the hunter. After so many years of carrying a gun, he suddenly found himself unable to continue after witnessing such profound affection within a family of monkeys. This unexpected encounter profoundly changed Mr. Haven. From then on, he became noticeably gentler, and the emotional numbness he had developed over years of hunting gradually faded. Although he continued hunting for some time afterward, he no longer pursued large animals. Instead, he limited himself to catching only small creatures. Later, as he recounted another experience in which he narrowly escaped death thanks to what he believed was the monkey's intervention, led by that same silver-headed monkey, Mr. N still shuddered at the memory. To him, it was nothing less than a real-life legend, an extraordinary event in which he himself had become the central figure. It was also the reason he ultimately decided to retire from hunting altogether, laying down his rifle forever and abandoning the life of taking wild animals. In those years, he explained, since I no longer hunted large animals, I didn't need as many hunting dogs. I usually brought only one young dog with me for training. On one such trip, he took a dog specially trained to catch snakes. When he and the dog arrived at a steep rocky cliff near BT Ghost Cave, a place he had never before dared to explore, he resolved to climb it. True to his word, he grasped the jagged rocks and climbed about 7 meters toward a deep cave high on the cliff face. But disaster struck. As he carefully reached for another handhold, his hand suddenly touched a cobra crawling across the rocks. Instinctively, the snake spread its hood wide and struck at him. His left hand clung desperately to the rock while his right hand instinctively let go to avoid the snake's attack. Then I lost my grip and fell toward the open ground below the cliff. While I was falling, I vaguely felt as though something pulled me back, and then I lost consciousness. When he awoke, he found himself wedged safely inside a narrow rock crevice. He could not understand how he had ended up there, because only moments earlier he had been on the verge of plunging into the deep ravine below. Nearby sat a troop of silver-headed monkeys. They showed no fear, they simply sat quietly watching him. Then he recognized the leader. It was the very same silver-headed monkey that had once pleaded for its life during that hunting trip years before. Mr. N became convinced that it was this troop of monkeys that had somehow saved his life during his moment of greatest danger. After that miraculous escape, Mr. Haven quietly returned home and firmly resolved to abandon hunting forever, despite the objections of friends and relatives. He often said, "When you live off the forest, every gain comes with tears. Everything has its price." He urged his children and grandchildren never to make a living by killing animals and instead to live honest and compassionate lives. In his view, refraining from doing evil was itself a way of repaying the forests for everything they had provided. The story of the legendary hunter who laid down his rifle forever after one fateful hunting expedition has since become a living legend throughout the tea-covered mountain region.